what is POI? It's a point of information where the opposing side can raise his hand or her hand and interject and clarify any point regarding your speech. So this happens in a parliamentary debate, and then the person on the other side can raise questions to the speaker. The tip here is that it's good to accept one POI at least per speech. Many speakers do not accept POI and say, no, thank you, I'll proceed with my speech. But accepting at least one actually shows that you're confident with your arguments and you're willing to address or answer questions that the other side may have. Doing otherwise would mean or would show that I'm afraid to be asked questions because I cannot defend my side. So that's one thing. Accept POIs and also ask POIs. It's a point for both teams if you can use the POIs very well. So continuing, when you have your debates, there will always be clashes. That's why we're debating, because there are two sides and they have differing opinions. So when you clash, the important element here is to be smart about it. Uh, Gone are the days when you see bombastic, explosive exchanges, maybe on the Senate floor or Congress. Yes, you can still see that. But in the form of formal debates, the POIs, the questions asked, you should use them to carry out your points. You're not supposed to use them to discredit the speaker. You're supposed to use it to carry a message or to weaken the argument of the other side, but not to attack the speaker. So some tips lang when you have to clash with the opposite team is you have to address the counter arguments directly and specifically. So if you watched presidential debates with Trump and the other candidates, or other debates on TV, you would be a witness to how these politicians tend to not answer the questions and segue into a different topic because they don't have answers to it. But in debating, to prove your point, you have to directly contradict the argument of the opposite side. So again, without sounding like a broken record, we go back to the example of the general. If they say that there is command responsibility, then you have to attack it directly. Your argument here is there is no command responsibility, and you build on that. If they present a case and say na the rebel actually followed orders, then you have to counter it by saying he was not following orders, he was cooperating. There's a difference. So if you hit the arguments head on, there is an opportunity for the judges and the audience to see that you're actually answering their points by better points that you're raising. So it's a matter of palabanan ng who has the better argument in this case. So don't be afraid to go head to head. That's why when we started with preparation, because you already have a sense of what they're going to use the argument, you attacked it directly. When they say there is a command responsibility, counter it with there's no command responsibility, and support it with specific details. So this first point, that's important. Attack it directly. Don't skirt around the issue because it will only weaken your defense or your offense if you're in the affirmative side. Be direct and be specific when attacking the arguments of the opposing side. You might ask how? How is that done? There's a four-step refutation that debaters use, and it has these phrases. They said, so going back to the example, they said that he is guilty because there's command responsibility. But in our case, we're going to prove that there is no command responsibility because they were just cooperating and they were not following orders. There's no command and control over the general and the rebels. Therefore, he is not supposed to be liable because command responsibility does not exist. So that's an example of the four-way refutation. You take their argument and then you dissect it and provide your counter arguments. And in the end, it will show that, oh, yes, you make more sense than what they're saying. Now, the third one, when your opponent has a very strong argument that it's difficult to refute. What we sometimes do is we provide an even if statement. So granting arguendo, or granting for the sake of argument, that the general did have effective command and control, we will raise another defense and say, uh, crime was not committed by the rebel forces. So if we cannot destroy the issue of command responsibility, we try to destroy another element of their case. You've all taken criminal law, I understand. So you're familiar with the elements of a crime. So, for example, you can't refute the first element of a crime, then you go and refute the second one. So that means he can still not be held liable for that particular crime because not all the elements are present. In the case that we argued for the moot court, there were some instances na it's hard to defend against. So we said even if they succeed in proving the first element, the second element is absent. Therefore, the affirmative or the government side still will not win this debate.